The head center. Its function is a pressure center. So it is the inspiration to find out. It's the inspiration to know. And I feel like with this one, I really need to talk about the head center and the ajna center. So like you see, this is the second triangle. So those two are working together to create your mental experience. And that I'm going to try to separate it and bring it together. So the head center is the inspiration. It's the pressure to think. It's the pressure to know something specific and important, quote unquote, because that's your own kind of subjective version of important. It's also where if there's confusion that you sense, things don't make sense. So you want to figure them out. You want to get to the truth of something because you're sensing that this doesn't add up. There's something missing here. There's doubtfulness. There's like the pressure to think because you doubt what you're experiencing. So you're trying to like get around it and see different viewpoints. All of these pressures are giving you the question. Like I saw on one of the sites that the like picture the head center like a giant question mark. Like what questions are coming into the ajna center is the second one. That's our thinking mind. So when you think about your thoughts and like your problem solving brain, that is your ajna center. But the ajna center all by itself, it's like a lawnmower parked in the garage. You know, whose yard do you want to mow? That's the function of the head center, is deciding like which thoughts, which questions, which things do we want to get to the bottom of? Which things do we care about figuring out? And then once we care about something, once we have a question, the ajna center kicks in and answers it for us. So that is a pressure center. That's where, you know, that can be a stressful thought. And this is something I want to kind of lay here in our groundwork for pressure centers in general, because we'll come back to it when we get to the root. Pressure and excitement can feel very similar when you're not really used to it. You know, like there's excitement that can pull you forward in a very similar way to pressure can push you forward. So I think whether you have this center defined or open, play around with that in your awareness and see if, you know, pressure doesn't have to be inherently stressful if you're allowing it to be translated as excitement and allowing that excitement to lead you in whatever it is that you're deciding to think about and get to the bottom of. Like I referenced the day I spent like 9 hours digging into the rabbit hole of human design. That was very much a day of, I had to know. I had to know. The more I knew, the more questions I had. And I had to know. I had to keep going. And everything I learned, there were just more questions and more questions and more questions. And it was like 9 hours later. And my body was so full of excitement. I let myself be led forward in that excited energy for 9 solid hours. And I woke up the next day feeling like my body had been hit by a truck. Like I had held so much tension. And that was really the first time I connected like that pressure / excitement. Excitement feels really good. It's so exciting, obviously. But it's still tension. It's still pressure that you're putting on yourself to know something that you're excited to learn. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this pressure center. And so if you have the center open, meaning it's white on your chart, which 70% thereabouts of people have this center open, because there's only 3 channels. So you got to have a planet land in one of these 3 gates. And you saw how many gates there are on the thing. I think it's 64. And only 3 of them get you, and technically you have to land a planet in one of the 3 gates of the head center, and you have to land a planet in that corresponding gate of the ajna center. So like the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, how does anybody even have the head and Ajna defined. My goodness, like that seems really hard to do, but somehow the universe lines it up. So, if you have it defined, like I said, look into which of those channels is causing it to be defined for you to better understand your unique way of flowing that inspired thought and solving problems and getting to the bottom of things. There will be more information in the channel for you. If you have it open, the potential, and we're always going to talk about potential with open centers because, like I said, these are so chaotic because you're soaking up energy. If you don't realize you're doing that, it leads to chaos. I'm sure you can resonate with that if you have any open centers in your chart, which most people do. And with practice, with study of the self, the art of studying self, we have potential with each of these centers. And throughout our lives, and as we work to increase our happiness, chances are we are, without even really knowing what we're doing, we're practicing mastering our open centers. So that's why I say, like, when you read about these things, it feels like you're reading the story of your life because yes, I resonate with all of these things, all of these chaotic things that used to happen. And then your tools for like, how do I get better at this? Yes, those are the things I've been practicing. And you're right, I do feel better now. So when you have an open center, there's always potential there. And with that potential, I like to think about it like there's no top end to that potential, meaning you can get better and better and better and better and better and better and better. There's no top end. No top end to how good you can get at mastering that energy and thus how good you can feel inside your unique circuitry. So some food for thought on how endless it truly is. So with the head center, the potential is that you can get really comfortable with the unknown. Like you can enjoy a question because you know that the answer's coming. Like as soon as you see a question, as soon as you feel the pressure to know something or the inspired, like random wondering that now you got to open Google and like how many times a day does blah, blah, blah happen? Like whatever, like this inspired question, you learn to witness that the question automatically puts pressure on us to answer it. That's the whole point of this pressure center. But you can experience it as excitement because you know that when you're inspired with a question, the answer's on its way. It's only a matter of time before I know the answer to this question. So when you see something that's unknown, it's only a matter of time before you're going to know it. So that's why I say open to unknowable things. When you have your thinking and your inspiration mind open, basically anything and everything can come into it. So that is a very free flowing place to be and can lead to things that, someone with a defined couple centers up top, they are masters at what they do, but in terms of innovation and stepping outside the box, that's not where that kind of thinking really comes from. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of understanding your unique circuitry. Again, with Open Center, you have the potential to explore endless viewpoints. And like we've talked about with this buffet, you try on each viewpoint and you're able to say, ooh, yeah, this one fits nice. I'm going to keep it. Or, ooh, this doesn't fit. I'm not keeping this. Yeah, so that's really cool that you can expand your perspective by soaking up little pieces of your environment's perspective and only keeping the ones that really truly serve you and letting go of the rest of it. So the questions on each of these slides are to help unpack that not self behavior. Like if you have this center open, this is what it's going to look like when it's malfunctioning, when there's balancing work needed in this particular area. So some questions to ask yourself if you're feeling, especially if you're feeling that mental pressure, that your mind is racing and I need to know, I need to get to the bottom of this, I need to make a decision, I need to, like that kind of pressure. Ask yourself, does what you're thinking about actually matter in your life? Like, is this your thought? Is this your worry? Is this your problem to solve? Or is this, like, I find myself a lot of times like thinking about society's problems and those big picture things. And again, that's all well and good if I've put myself in a situation where that's my work. and that's what I'm here to do. Like, I'm some politician, like crafting policies for the whole, but I'm not. I didn't put myself in that perspective. So really, like, spending a whole lot of time thinking about the problems of the world and how do I solve them. Maybe it's fun, maybe there's a little bit of fun in that, but a lot of times, like, it just ends up in this place of like, this is so much bigger than I am, and that's not very satisfying. So does that really matter in my life? Like, is this something that I'm facing in my right here and now? Um, are my worries mine or somebody else's? So if we have an open head center, that's that mental pressure, and we're more likely to pick up, or we are likely to pick up the mental pressure that others are feeling. So that is a good question at the end of the day. Like, if you feel again like your head is full and you're just like so tense and can't relax, are these my worries? Am I holding on to worries that don't even belong to me? Um, and if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel like your brain is too full, especially if you have an open center, chances are you're holding on to things that don't belong to you. So working to let that go, like we talked about, like if you're a sponge, if you have an open center that's acting like a sponge, you have to wring out the sponge every once in a while. Otherwise, it wreaks chaos in our world. It truly does.